And then the final game of the weekend was the Texans versus the Steelers. And obviously the story was the Texans defense. Aaron Rodgers was pressured on 45% of his dropbacks, which is such an absurd stat that I think it speaks for itself. But and of course, what we already talked about C.J. Stroud playing poorly. He fumbled twice, two lost fumbles, by the way.
Yeah, he fumbled 4 times.
Yes, correct. Yeah, he lost 2, and he threw an interception. He was 21 of 32 for 250 yards, a touchdown and an interception. But again, that doesn't tell the story of the fumbles. Rodgers threw for only 146 yards and an interception, had a quarterback rating of 50. It was by far his worst playoff performance in an otherwise storied career. Obviously, the story after the game was Mike Tomlin stepping down after 19 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a couple of things to unpack here. Obviously, let me start with Aaron Rodgers. Is that the last time we see Aaron on the NFL playing surface?
Please, Lord, let it be.
And Mike Tomlin, man, was this the right decision for the Steelers? Was it the right decision for Mike Tomlin?
Does he keep? How much of his money does he keep?
$50 million over the next 2 seasons.
Great decision, Mike.
$25 million a year.
Outstanding decision, Mike Tomlin. What are you doing?
You know what? Let me sidebar with you for a minute. Did you realize NFL head coaches made that kind of money?
No, that's why when I heard $50 million, I'm like, what are we talking about? What?
Because I remember. So I'll take a little rabbit trail. Remember when they asked him if he was going to leave the Steelers to go coach USC, and he was like, "I coached the Pittsburgh Steelers. Are you, like basically just dressed down the reporter like." Now I see why. Like 7 years, $91 million. That's what Lane Kiffin just got. And he like, that's chump change. You know what I'm saying? I make $25 million a year. Like now I see why he said that.
Dude, yeah. And
I'm over here making real bread. Like, dude, I'll make that in a couple years.
A lot of lettuce.
Man, yeah. So yeah, shout out to Mike Tomlin. But
I don't believe that he gets paid from his contract because he resigned. They technically still has his rights. So if he gets hired by another team, then the Steelers are draft compensation, or they have rights to draft compensation.
Correct. Yes, they would have to. The understanding that I have is that they would have to okay him coaching for another team.
Okay.
So they still have it because he resigned and he he was not terminated. Right. So yeah, he still has the money. He still gets the money, and they would have to okay him going elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's why a lot of people speculate that he'll probably go do TV or something like that.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I'm like, I think it was fine. But couple of things, though, a couple of tidbits. Because we were talking about Matt LaFleur earlier, and I think this is true about him, and it's true about Tomlin. So while I have a tremendous respect for Mike Tomlin, I like Mike Tomlin a lot, I do think it was time after 19 seasons, probably for both the organization and Mike to get a fresh start.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple of things that strike me about Mike Tomlin. Again, like there's coaching red flags sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
One big coaching red flag for me is when a coach doesn't have a coaching tree. And I think that's true about John Harbaugh too. I don't think he's got a coaching tree like that. You don't have like other coaches that are, like how Andy Reid got a coaching tree. Even Sean McVay, like you mentioned, he's 39 years old. Dan Campbell been here 5 years. You know what I'm saying? And the head coach of the Jets and the head coach of the Bears are off of his tree. Like they basically his coaches.
And Miami want to interview Kelvin Shepherd.
That's what I said. I'm like, Kelvin Shepherd about to interview with somebody coming up here this week. So that's interesting. When I don't know what it means.
I think that's less fair to Harbaugh because he had you can say he has mentor.
Jesse Mentor, but he's the coordinator.
McDonald.
Yeah,
but he's soon to be a head coach in the next
year. Yes, yeah, right. So I
think on surface level, it might seem like that, but I think that's less for the Harbaugh. And then
less for Harbaugh. Yes, I agree.
I think that's more so because him and Jim have shared a lot of the same people.
Yeah, I don't disagree. But 18 years though, like you would think that it would be, his coaches would be littered throughout the league as opposed to just having a couple of names. But yeah, I agree. Less so John Harbaugh than Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin really doesn't have a coaching tree. But also, he's the first coach in NFL history to lose 5 straight playoff games by double digits. Also, he's lost 7 straight playoff games.
Yeah, that's rough.
And, I got to do my little expose, right? Just to go through all of them, going back to 2017.
Oh, man, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, against New England. January 2017, they trailed 36-9 before eventually losing 36-17. Okay, that was the AFC Championship game. No big deal. That was New England, Tom Brady. They smacked up a lot of teams. The following season against the Jaguars. My point is they trailed big in all these games. Following season against the Jaguars, they started that game down 21-0. They eventually rallied and made it a shootout. Lost 45-42. That was against the quarterback for the Jags, by the way, was Blake Bortles.
Yeah.
Against the Browns in 2021, that was the season they started 12-0. They went down 28-0 in that game before rallying back to lose a shootout 48-37. 2022, they were at one point down to the Chiefs 35-7 before eventually losing 42-21. So that game basically was never close. 2023, they were down 21-0 to the Bills before eventually losing 31-17. 2024, stop me if you heard this one before. They were down to the Ravens, 21-0 before eventually losing 28-14. Of course, Monday night, they lost 30-6. I mean, those are big, big losses.
Yeah.
And again, that's not to say that Mike Tomlin is not a good head coach, because he certainly is. 19 years never having a losing season, that's something.
Right.
That's something. But it does speak to the fact that sometimes something is off in the room. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a defensive head coach. Getting behind big in every playoff game, you know what I'm saying? Like all of your last 7 playoff games, that means something. Like there's something there. And I always think that sometimes, it's the environment and it's the individual. Sometimes you just need to, the vibe is bad and you got to get a separation so that the individual can get a fresh start and so that the environment can change.
Starts to become mundane.
Correct. It's not necessarily the individual is bad or that the environment is bad. It's just that you need a change. And so I was glad that, they didn't fire him or didn't blow him out, you know what I'm saying? And that it's all, it's ugly. And I just, I think that,
Steelers are a class organization.
They are. And I think that, he will eventually likely coach again because I think he's a coach.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that he'll probably take his time because of the money and because of the fact that the Steelers would have to okay his next coaching position.
And 19 years in a row, that's a grind, man.
Being an NFL head coach is hard.
That is a grind. So I don't think anyone would blame him if he wanted to take a year or two off and get some TV money, fly around, work 2-3 days a week, on the weekend or whatever.
I certainly wouldn't blame him.
Now, I did have a question for you, though.
Go ahead.
As it refers to Harbaugh and Tomlin.
Mm-hmm.
And, we like tinfoil koofy hypotheticals here.
Yeah, so I think I know where you're going, but go ahead.
So with both of them now, moving on to hopefully greener pastures.
Yeah.
Let's just say the roles were reversed.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think wins one? Or then both continue to not win if Tomlin has Lamar and Harbaugh has TJ Watt?
So let me say this.
And the reason why I asked that is because, and I'm not to say this is the sole reason, But I think a lot of in the latter years of Tomlin's tenure in Pittsburgh, a lot of that being hamstrung to the corpse of Ben Roethlisberger and, him not really being willing to cultivate maybe the organization gearing towards getting a quarterback that can carry them on after he's gone could have hurt them as well.
I will say, so here's my thing about Mike Tomlin. Here's the unknown. He's never developed a quarterback. I don't know what his ability is to develop a quarterback.
Okay.
So if I'm hiring Mike Tomlin, I want my quarterback in the room.
Okay.
Mike Tomlin toward the end, and I hate to do cross sports analogies, but I'm going to do it anyway. He gave me Steve Kerr vibes.
Oh, Lord.
Steve Kerr, and not that because I think Steve Kerr is not really interested in developing young guys.
Yeah.
You just getting that vibe from him. Like he falling out with any young guy that's got promise, Steve Kerr's not interested. He just ain't interested in them. Like he like Brandon Pajemski because Brandon Pajemski is a role player. He gonna be a role player for his entire career.
He happy to be there.
Yeah. Moses Moody, role player for his entire career. No problem with him. Jonathan Kuminga could possibly be a starter and a star. He gonna fall out with him. Jordan Poole, same thing. He show a lot of promise. Nope, because he feels for some reason threatened by those guys.
Eric Pascal.
Yeah, I mean, like he just falls out with the younger stars, younger potential stars. They haven't even budded into a star. Just if they have any potential, those guys he just doesn't. He's not interested in.
Right? Yeah, because he'll play a young player like a Patrick McCall or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But like
a fill-in guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he don't dislike all young play, but anybody that's got the potential to supplant one of his established stars, he won't do it.
Well, that's because he's afraid to manage that.
Yes, eventually a guy like that is going to hamstring the organization. Now, I don't know with Mike Tomlin. I'm not sure that it's because he can't develop a quarterback or because he was married to the I've never had a losing season. And I'm not interested in what a young quarterback means. You know what I'm saying? Because they had
that's a hell of a point there. Like after a while, that becomes kind of a shtick unintentionally.
Yeah, because one year they had they traded their first round pick for Minkah Fitzpatrick. The same year that Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love were drafted after they would have been drafting in the first round. Same thing with this year. This year, Jackson Dart, Tyler Show. I don't know what these guys are going to end up being. Shedeur Sanders. I don't know what these guys are going to end up being, but they were on the board when Pittsburgh was picking. I mean, we sat here and watched the draft in this room, and we were all perplexed. I mean, Ty, who's watching us now, was sitting here. We all believed that Pittsburgh would take a quarterback. He's not interested in developing a young quarterback. He was not interested in doing that. They waited on Aaron Rodgers. And I'm like, I mean, you can have a young quarterback and Aaron Rodgers in the same room. I mean, you could have done both.
A quarterback would probably benefit from having Aaron Rodgers in a quarterback room, you would think.
Correct. So that's the one unknown about Tomlin. So to get back to answering your question, I would think that Tomlin would do well with Lamar, though. Like an established Lamar, because he came into an established Ben Roethlisberger.
Right.
And they did fine because he's a defensive side of the ball guy. So I think that he do fine. What you got, nephew?
Are we sure Mike Tomlin is as good as the perception is of him? Because to your earlier point, Lance, like you said, the Steelers are a class organization. They've had 3 head coaches for y'all entire lifetime.
Yes, that's correct. Longer than our entire lifetime. Right.
Yeah. My point exactly. Yeah. So what's not to say that the culture of the Steelers over the past 50-some years isn't what carried them over these past years and not Tomlin and his coaching ability. Not to say I don't think he's a bad coach. I'm not sitting here to say he's a bad coach. But again, and I know I say this a lot, culture means a lot
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's no stronger culture in sports outside of the Pittsburgh Steelers culture.
Yeah.
And so I think there has to be a consideration with how the past 7-8 years have gone and have ended. I think there's a question to say how good is he actually is compared to the perception that he holds.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair question. You know, I would lean towards saying I do believe that Tomlin is a good football coach because irrespective of everything, it's hard to win in the NFL. I mean, no organization is good enough to undergird you solely if you can't coach. You know what I'm saying? Like we've seen good coaches, you know, Gerard Mayo lost when he was coaching in New England. You know what I'm saying? Like the organization can't hold you up if you can't coach.
And they wasted no time.
Yeah, and getting rid of because good organizations are decisive. So I think that if Mike Tomlin wasn't a good coach, it would still reveal itself. I mean, the NFL is still the NFL, but I believe that the Pittsburgh Steelers organization has assisted him absolutely. Yes, I believe that, you know, him being a part of an excellent organization, then being able to get players and pick players and him being a part of that process has certainly assisted him. But I would still lean toward him being a really good head coach. But with that being said, I mean, but I said this about any head coach. I like coaches going to where there's already an established quarterback. I don't want to have to go somewhere where they got to get me a quarterback and the quarterback situation is unknown. You know, I would always recommend that coaches go.
Now, when you say established, do you mean like established in terms of the organization has decided that they have a quarterback? Right. Or do you mean like they're like tearing the league up?
No.
They just have they identified their guy.
Correct.
Got you.
Yeah, and there's something there to work with.